I finally watched Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, probably my most expected, anticipated film of this year because it's Christopher Nolan. As a huge cinephile and an inspiring film director, I just cannot miss his film. And overall, it was a really good film, a good adaptation of the poem by Homer. I mean, I'd give this film 8 out of 10. There is, however, one scene, one specific segment of the story which I wish stayed closer, more, closer to the original. It's the segment is with Polyphemus the Cyclops and when he's cave. This section is my favorite part of the original poem, and I wish it stayed more loyal to the source material. I'm talking about the interaction between Polyphemus and Odysseus, which got completely cut from the movie. I mean, this scene shows us how actually smart and cunning Odysseus is. If we turn to Homer, Odysseus is actually he's not the strongest in the Greek army, but he's the most cunning one, the smartest one. The Trojan horse was actually his idea. It was his device. The war has been raging on for 10 years, and the Greeks couldn't break the defenses of Troy down. And then Odysseus comes up with an idea to, build a horse and present it as a peace offer to the Trojans and put soldiers inside. So this whole plan was his. He is the smart guy among the Greeks. And this scene with Polyphemus gets to showcase that his qualities even further. When Polyphemus asks Odysseus his name, Odysseus replies that his name is nobody. So when Odysseus and his crew step Polyphemus's eye and escape, Polyphemus cries for help. He cries for other Cyclops to help him to chase down Odysseus. And when other Cyclops ask Polyphemus who hurt him, Polyphemus says nobody. Nobody. And so Odysseus gets to get away from the island. It's a really clever moment in the poem. Unfortunately, this moment is completely cut from the movie, from the film. It's not there, and because of that, my favorite sequence with Polyphemus feels a bit bland. Although everything else, the Polyphemus design, especially with the sound design, everything else is top notch. But I understand why this part was completely cut, because it's a different Odysseus. It's not the Odysseus from the poem. Because honestly speaking, you can't really completely faithfully adapt the original poem, because it's not really a story for modern audiences. It's not a story for the 21st century. It's a 3,000-year-old story about war, about, warring, pillaging, killing was actually normal back in the day. It was a normal state of living. If you don't pillage, if you don't go and conquer and kill somebody else, they will eventually come and conquer you. It was the world. There was an ancient world in which the story takes place, in which the characters lived. None of the characters feel guilt, feel remorse for what they do in the Iliad and in the Odyssey. And Odysseus doesn't feel bad. He's cunning. He kills a lot. He commits war crimes, and his crew does a lot of crimes too. They rape, they pillage, and they don't feel bad. Of course, you cannot present this kind of character to the modern audiences. So of course, Odysseus, he feels guilt. He feels doubts about what he does when they pillage and destroy Troy. He sees all the destruction that the war causes, and he feels remorseful, completely remorseful. So that's why the interaction with Polyphemus is cut, because this interaction is supposed to show Odysseus' pride, how prideful he is. He eventually reveals his true name to Polyphemus. He says, "No, that it's Odysseus of Ithaca who, stabbed your eye." He just can't help himself. He just can't just escape and sail away. He needs to let Polyphemus know who exactly did this to him, who exactly turned him blind. So that's Odysseus from the poem, and we have a different Odysseus from the modern movie. So I understand why this cut was made, but I still wish they kept something, some kind of interaction, a dialogue at least between Odysseus and Polyphemus would have been really cool in my opinion. But other than that, my only really big complaint was one of the final scenes, the fight scene between Odysseus and Telemachus and the suitors. I mean, it's not exactly a spoiler because, it's a 27 centuries old poem, and, I think most people study it at school. At least in the Western countries, it is studied in school, in middle school, I think, if I'm not mistaken, both the Iliad and the Odyssey, so it's not exactly a spoiler. It's like saying spoilers about the movie based on a biblical mythology. So yeah, that scene, the montage, the cuts were pretty jarring. The lightning, it was pretty, it was intentional, dark. There were intentionally too many cuts. The montage was intentionally too jarring in order to conceal the fact that the choreography wasn't really good. Then I wish that the big Hollywood production actually paid more, attention to choreography, hiring good choreographers, actually choreographing great fight scenes, like for example, I watched a movie called Harakiri, 1962 Japanese film, which actually deconstructs the samurai genre. So the final fight scene between the main character and all the other samurais is absolutely fantastic. There are almost no cuts. We just follow the main characters. He tries to escape fighting all the samurai, and it's absolutely beautiful. I think this is what modern blockbusters actually lack. This appreciation for choreography. I wish it kind of, as I see there is lots of great choreography in like movies from Hong Kong and other countries. I wish that Hollywood paid more attention to that too. But visually the movie looks pretty great. You can see where the budget went. I mean, just a few days ago I saw the trailer for Avengers Doomsday, and honestly, that trailer looked like a complete mess. I mean, it just looked so jarring. The background, everything looked so obvious with CGI, so obviously not real. Like, you always see there is some kind of, a screen, some kind of, what is the technology called? Volume, I guess. I'm not a VFX expert. Volume that Disney has been using for since The Mandalorian. You can clearly see it's that in the rooms where the characters stand, when it has this kind of roundish shape because it's volume, I guess. So they don't film on the actual set, they just film it on a studio set with this volume technology. Everything just looks so burnt, just burnt CGI and completely lifeless and uninteresting to look at. And in comparison, movies like The Odyssey or like Dune look so much better. Because they actually bothered to go outside, go and film in the wild, and it immediately makes everything look much better. And yeah, this should be the approach. This is how you create epic. Plus Nolan's great sound work, which was fantastic in this movie. Overall, a great cinematic experience. With just a few grievances, of course. I mean, yeah. So thank you for listening to this opinion. I mean, I do acknowledge that I do lack certain proper terminology, I guess, because I never got the formal education when it comes to filmmaking. Everything I learned about filmmaking and cinematography, I learned by actually doing it, by making my short films, by watching a lot of films, old and new ones. But I've never really gotten proper film education. So if that's a bit jarring, I'll try to learn proper terms next time. Thank you, and hopefully see you next time.